It's the Leo new moon today as I record this, so when you listen it'll be a couple of days later, or maybe many days later, depending on when you press play. And as we move into Leo, it's also the month of my birthday, so it feels always really significant, doesn't it, as we come into the month of our birth. And we have this special communion, this special connection with, the storytelling that goes on around different astrological signs that we're connected to, whether that's Chinese astrology or Western astrology. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was abundance. Welcome to the Henny Flynn podcast, the space for deepening self-awareness with profound self-compassion. I'm Henny. I write, coach, and speak about how exploring our inner world can transform how we experience our outer world, all founded on a bedrock of self-love. Settle in and listen and see where the episode takes you. So, I've been running a beautiful piece of group work for the last 3 weeks. We had our third session today, and there's one more to go before I break for my August break. If you've known me for a while, you'll know that I take August every year completely clear, and it's my time to rest and recenter and gather myself. And also it's a time when I write. It's a time when I do some wider, deeper thinking, and hopefully it's a time when I do some kayaking as well. Because play is important, Henny. It is not all just about the work, of course. And the reason why I wanted to talk about abundance is because I was listening to the Kirsty Gallagher podcast, where she's a Western astrologer, and she shares each week the cosmic weather forecast. And it really struck me that so much of what she was saying, astrologically speaking, about this week, and it this is sort of whether or not you buy into astrology, whether or not it resonates with you. I'm not really sure quite where I sit with it. I don't really understand it. But what I do know is that often when I listen to people that I trust, and there is one woman in particular, an incredible woman called Margaret Coolman, who I trust very much. When I listen to people like Margaret and Kirsty, often there is a resonance, and my sense is that if something sparks something within us that leads us to move forward with a positive intent, and that helps us make sense of our experiences with loving kindness, and that helps us observe and be with the world around us without resistance or clinging, then that thing is useful. And that's what I receive when I listen to the Cosmic Weather Report. You know, like anything, we ignore what doesn't resonate and we pick up what does. You know, it's the same when you listen to me speaking. You know, if you're not interested in astrology, your brain will just skip through that bit. But hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of what I share. So anyway, when I was listening to Kirsty today, I was really struck by how much of what she was saying echoed the conversations that we had been having in the Moving Toward Abundance group work that I was doing with the group today. And it's really important that when we're talking about things like lack and abundance, that we don't, slip into magical thinking and this kind of la la la, everything's going to be okay magically, which many of us have that part of us that really wants that to be true. But really, when we're thinking about an abundant mindset, it's much more about being able to recognize the options that are available to us, being able to see how resourced we actually are, being able to see the skills that we have, the support that we have around us. And, for me, trust is actually the word that sits most truthfully at the heart of an abundant mindset. And that's, again, like I say, that's not a kind of magical thinking kind of trust that everything's going to be okay. It's a deeply embodied, grounded, intelligent trust. And when I say intelligence, I don't just mean, cognitive. I mean heart, belly, the hara, the wisdom, and the mind, all aligned. So that when we come into this place of alignment with our three brains, we know that stem cells form in the gut, the heart, and the brain when we're in embryo form. We have these three, for want of a better word, thinking parts of us and when they are aligned, my experience is that when they are aligned, then we are much more able to make full use of all of the resources that we have available to us. And for me, that's part of abundance. So it was just really, really interesting. And also, oh my goodness me, the conversations that we have been having on this course have been so moving and so profound. And I knew when we embarked on it, I deeply felt the tenderness, because when we're talking about embedded beliefs and embedded behaviors that might keep us in a place of lack, it can be very, very sensitive to turn toward them and address them and listen to them and then see what we can potentially do to shift them. And as with any of this work, we're not shoving anything away. We're not saying any way of being in the world that we've experienced before was bad and that what we have to do is fix that. Sorry, that's Ronnie. What we have to do is fix that, or that we have to somehow be a better person. Saying that phrase, I really struggle with that concept of being better. What is that? That might be a whole podcast in itself, because we are as we are, and that kind of pressure that comes from this idea that we need to be better than what we are, because within that is a not so subtle assumption that we're not good enough as we are. And gosh, that plays into so many beliefs that we can hold about ourselves that can keep us small, that can keep us in a place of lack. Anyway. If you fancy listening to finding out what Kirsty Gallagher says about the weeks ahead, I recommend her podcast. I think she's lots and lots and lots of people love her, so go for it. I picked a book off the shelf. Actually, do you know what? That really didn't sound very generous, did it? I just suddenly realised that. I kind of caught myself in a not wanting to push something toward you in case it didn't like work for you. And then I heard myself like pull back, and rather than really celebrate, oh my goodness me, this incredible woman is offering this beautiful thing out into the world. And if you don't like it, it's fine. And if you do like it, it's fine. Like, they're both absolutely equal. So yeah, anyway, I don't know what part of me it was that showed up just then. I think it was the part that doesn't want you to think that I'm wrong. That's interesting. Oh, yes. What is it, Ronnie? It's fine. Maybe Ronnie thinks that he's just telling me that that I'm wrong in some way. Oh, Ronnie, it's okay. Good boy. It's okay. So anyway, let's just move on and just say that we love Kirsty Gallagher. She's amazing. And weirdly, I mean, I had so many friends and clients were sending me links to her podcast for a while that eventually I just had to give in and have a listen. And then when I did, I realised that about 3 or 4 years ago, a client sent me a book called Lunar Living, and I can actually see it on my bookshelf from here. And as a sort of thank you for the work that we'd done together, and it was incredibly thoughtful of her, and I'm very, very grateful. And when the book arrived, I was a bit like, I don't know how I feel about this idea of like planning your life by the moon. But if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll know that since getting that book, that idea has definitely like come deeper and deeper into me. And, you know, here I am starting the podcast saying it's the new moon. So, and that book, Lunar Living, was written by Kirsty Gallagher. So here we are. There's a lovely full circle there. So I feel like I'm waffling. I picked out an old journal. This is really quite an old one. What is this? This is from sometime in 2019. And I just thought maybe I could read an extract from it. And of course, the page that I've opened it up to, I mean, how brilliantly, beautifully talks about lack and abundance. So it feels really resonant. And one of the things that I really love about this act of going back to previous journals is to be able to see how often themes repeat themselves in our journals. So like we have this like, moment of like absolute like searing insight. And then 6 years later, we write something and have the same bit of searing insight. However, it's always slightly different. And my feeling is that when we have these themes that we return to in our journal, and often we don't even know because we don't always go back to the relevant entry, we don't always spot it in our journal, but when we start to see these recurring themes, it's really interesting to follow how our thinking has shifted and how it's matured, how it's deepened and widened and grown, and how the sort of colours that run through it have become perhaps more vibrant or more muted, you know, softer, you know, less jarring perhaps. So yeah, I know I always say the guidance is to shut the journal when you finish writing. And I stand by that. I still think that's a really good practice, because it stops us, editing what we've written in the moment that we've written it. When we shut the book, we just let the words do their work. But when we return to our journal, it can be so useful as part of seeing our own stepping stones on our journey toward self-awakening, actualization, like whatever language you like to use, self-discovery, self-awareness, whatever. And we can see how, hopefully, self-compassion has threaded its way through. And if you're using flow journaling as a practice, then hopefully that you're beginning or will already see how self-compassion can really inform the way that we explore these big ideas, and how that then helps us turn towards some of the stuff that we might find more challenging. So I'm going to read this entry. Now, the only trouble is I haven't got my glasses and I've got no idea where they are. So, and my writing is quite small in this journal, and it's very neat. And as you know, I don't tend to use paragraphs. So I'm basically going to now be squinting at a page. And hopefully what I read will make some kind of sense for you. And the invitation is just to let the words drift over you, and maybe to see, what does it spark for you? What do these words of lack and abundance, and apparently right now, according to Kirsty, this is a time of profound abundance, an opportunity to really step into your own space. And actually, that brings me on to something else that I was thinking about sharing with you this week, which I'd forgotten about. And, that this idea of like, how do we step into our own space? Well, something that I've recognized and acted upon in the last couple of days is that the word coach really has never resonated for me. So despite all the training I've done, despite my postgraduate qualification in business and personal coaching, despite being a systemic and constellation coach, and all the other coach training I've done, that word really just doesn't feel like it speaks to me. And it's not that I think that it shouldn't be used, because if that's the word that, if you are a coach and that's the word that you love to use, perfect, brilliant and wonderful and marvelous, and how wonderful to have something that really lands for you. But for me, it never has. And I've tried so many different ways of describing what I do, and, put words in front of the word coach. So practical compassion coach, compassion-based coach, therapeutic coaching, all of these things. And what I've finally realized is I'm just not going to use a word because I cannot find one that really describes what I do. And my recognition is that what I do is I walk beside people as they're coming home to self. That's it. If those words resonate with you, then you will understand a sense of what that means. If those words don't resonate with you, but you're curious about it, then I would say that some part of you understands what they mean. And if you have absolutely nothing in response to it, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. I'm perhaps not the right person for you to do this like deep work with, but there will be somebody else that you could work with. And part of abundance, I think, is being willing to accept that we each find our own place, and we each show up and do the work that we're here to do. And that is enough. That is okay, and that is enough. And as I'm saying this, I also, I've been sort of thinking about, so how do I describe, the one-to-one work that I do with people? If it's not coaching, what do I say it is? Well, essentially, it's conversation. And I've been sort of using the language of guide and describing it as solo work and group work, rather than coaching and programs. So I'd really love to know, what you feel about it. What was really interesting is I shared what I felt was a really beautiful articulation of how this feels for me on Instagram, and ended up with some really moving comments from people who have worked directly with me. One of whom said, I'd say to people, well, she's not a coach and she's not a therapist. I don't really know how to describe her, but she does this sort of amazing work, however it went on. And, so this sense that what I was feeling was being felt by others as well. And the reason for sharing all of that is that it feels like it's a layer. It's one of my layers that I'm slowly releasing. And again, I feel that relates to these concepts of lack and abundance as well, because when we're in a state of lack, we're tightly held. We're pulling everything tightly around us. It's a way of protecting ourselves. But when we're in a more abundant mindset, we're open, we release, we soften, and we're able to take up the full amount of space that we have been allocated. I love this concept that, when we're each born, we're allocated an amount of space, and every human being is allocated the same amount of space. And, this thing about feeling into a more abundant mindset is really being able to step into our whole space, to trust that is okay. Whereas when we're in that state of lack, we tend to want to get as small as possible, because that feels safer. And there'll be lots of reasons for that. And, yes, gosh, that's a whole, you need to come on the course if you want to explore that more. I am going to be running it again, probably in October, I think. And if you're curious about these deeper courses, then do take a look on the website and look at group work. There are a couple of short courses coming up, group work in September, October. And we've also got the year-long group coaching. I called it coaching. What am I doing? Group work. A program called Immerse, which I am so excited about starting. So if that's something that resonates with you, let me know. Anyway, okay, now I'm going to read to you, and hopefully my eyes will manage to work out what it is that I've written on the pages. And I can see that I used an angel card as a prompt for this day's entry, and the angel card was introspection. I really like using I love using prompts, as you probably already know, and sometimes just taking a word as a piece of inspiration from something that you've heard, or an oracle card, or a love word, whatever, and using that as the starting point for your journaling can be really, really beautiful. So here we go. And it's interesting because, what does it say? Yeah, so it took me a little while to kind of, I think it's got darker in here, something like that. Anyway, so here we go. Introspection. So the internal dialogue is shifting, has shifted from the pushing out, coming from a fear of lack, to a questioning of what is abundance and how do we stay in that place of unfocused attention. What does that mean? Unfocused attention. Like we have our eyes wide open, so our peripheral vision notices what is around us and is gently alert to what comes and goes, but is not drawn to it, does not need to focus on any one part of it, simply conscious and aware with a soft gaze. Is that it? That sounds right. It sounds as if you have seen and felt the fullness of flow. Flow is a space where you are connected but do not strive toward any one of the things you are connected to. It is a place of acceptance of everything, just as it is. To have a mantra that holds you here may be helpful for you. Perhaps it is as it is would help. So in those moments where you feel yourself pushing outward to a thought, a feeling, a need, a desire, you can hold yourself steady by simply saying, "It is as it is." There is no need to embellish these words because it is as it is. Each time you act, you have acted. That action is complete. You have endless choices in the future about future actions, but this time, it is as it is. So how do I know which choices are right in the future? Act from your heart. Each time you do, you'll come closer to your higher purpose, your highest intent. Come into your heart. Perhaps a mantra here would help you too. What? Do not be impatient. We're listening to what is right. Ah, yes, that is it. I am listening. And take 3 breaths. How will I know if what I have chosen is right? It will be right because it is what you have chosen. Your desire, your intent is to act in the best interests of the universe. That is what will guide you. I am acting from my higher purpose may be clearer for you. These 2 mantras can hold you in a place of flow. Settle into them and smile as you say them. We cannot strive into a place of lack when we are smiling with our hearts. It is as it is. You are in flow. Yeah. Gosh, I tell you what, the wisdom of the journal. It's just amazing. You know, in these courses, these group work, short courses, we use flow journaling live in the sessions, and we do a relaxation practice, we do some journaling, we reflect on what's come up in the journaling, and there's no requirement on anybody to do anything at all. There are no requirements, but there's no requirement on anybody to share something that they've written. But what is always really interesting is the concepts that come up, or the things that sort of open up within us as we're journaling, and how that then informs the conversation that comes next. It's really hard to explain what we do. I think it's a form of magic, to be honest. You know, it's like alchemy, these conversations. But what was really, really clear today was the warmth and the love that was flowing through the group. And and this is not something which is sort of gender specific either. Men come on these programs too, and I absolutely love that, because then we get this balance, this integrated, wise being withness, and there is just so much wisdom inherent within every single one of us when we have the space and the conditions to access it. Just feels so beautiful to me, and I'm so honoured to be part of it. Anyway, well, as ever, I hope something there had a thread and a flow through it. I feel it did, and I want to send you so much love, and also, lastly, just to say, if you haven't yet subscribed to A Piece of Quiet, oh my goodness me, it is proving to be the most beautiful space. It is a form of first aid. When you are struggling, when you are overwhelmed, when you need to pause, A Piece of Quiet is there for you. Do sign up. You can just sign up for a month and see what it's like. It's £7.20 when you've got the discount that's running at the moment. £7.20 a month. And for that, you get 4 beautiful, I say that, I made them, relaxation practices with really compassionate inquiry journaling prompts. And you don't even have to do the journaling if you don't want to. It's really just an opportunity to allow your body to rest, to soften, to come into the parasympathetic, and let your body be with you for just a few minutes. I just feel so strongly this is something that so many of us need, particularly right now. And I would really, really love to welcome you into that space. And the comments that I've been getting back from the people who have been doing the practice and using it in this way as a kind of form of first aid, it's so moving. And also, one of the other things about it is that you're not overwhelmed with choice. I love Insight Timer. I'm a teacher on Insight Timer. I've shared so many practices on their courses, talks, mindfulness practices. And there are thousands of amazing teachers on there. It's a brilliant, brilliant resource. But sometimes it's really hard to know what to choose. And if you like my voice, if you get on with my voice, then I think you'll love A Piece of Quiet, because it is really simple and really straightforward. And the piece of music is so gorgeous that I share for you to write to or just sit and gaze out of the window to at the end of the relaxation practice. So yeah, in the show notes, you'll see the link, and do sign up. It's going to run all the way through August. It's going to run all the way through every month. So while I take my break, it will still be there for you. All right, my darlings. Now I'm going to go, and I send you a hug and a wave.